One of the most important outcomes of testing your business model canvas with customer interviews, in other words, through the customer discovery process, is to learn exactly what your beachhead market is. Exactly where should you start focusing your sales and marketing early on to get early revenue, which is just critical for a startup. You'll only learn that if you ask the right questions. And that's what we'll talk about today. Hi, I'm Steve Morris, and I use this Startup SOS channel to provide practical how-to advice for first-time entrepreneurs. Now, we've talked in previous videos about the customer interview and how a big part of what you're doing is validating all those hypotheses about the value proposition, about customer relationship, about the channel, and about your revenue streams. And we talked about how another factor you'll want to explore is that there actually is a compelling reason to buy. Those are all important, but there's one other thing that's critical to come away with a good understanding of after you've gotten through your customer interviews. And that is an understanding of what is your beachhead market. In other words, what market will you focus on initially? These would be the customers that are most likely to buy, probably because they have the most compelling need or they're in the best position to buy. Again, that's what you'll learn about when you talk to customers. The challenge is you go out and talk to 50, 60, 70 customers and get a lot of great information, and you figure out which customers really are ready to buy. The question is, what characterized those customers? And it's hard to keep that straight after you've talked to that many people. You need to ask the right questions. So what do I mean by the right questions? I mean, you need to ask about demographics. Okay, I know demographics doesn't sound that exciting, but it's critical. After you talk to all those customers, you need to be able to look at what you've gathered, look at all the data, and say, the customers that really look like the best prospect for us are, companies of this size or in this industry or with this many employees or with this particular type of competitive challenge. What is it that characterizes those? Well, you have to ask about some of that basic demographic background that goes above and beyond what you're asking about to test your canvas hypotheses, and can even go beyond what you ask about to verify that there's a compelling reason to buy. So demographics turn out to be very important. Now, the challenge is you don't know going into this process what demographics are actually going to turn out to be the most important to ask about. So you take your best shot, right? You think what might characterize a good customer and make a point of asking those kinds of background questions. Now let's jump into some examples. Let's say you're in a business-to-business market, B2B, so your customer is a business. Well, there are some company-level questions you probably should think about. But again, think about the particular job to be done that you're tackling and figure out which of the demographics might be relevant. There's probably more of them you should ask about that aren't on this list. But some obvious things to think about. How many employees are there at the company? What's their revenue level? What industry are they in? What are some of the key trends that are going on in that industry? What product lines does this company have? What's their financial situation? What's their competitive situation? Those are some of the things that at the company level are probably good to ask about so that you can come back and put all the information together to really identify what kind of a company looks like your best prospect. Taking it down to the department level, some other questions to think about. What is the size of the department that has the job to be done that you're targeting? What's their budget situation? What kind of product lines do they deal with? And what is the overall function of the department? How does the company's competitive situation maybe influence what the priorities are at that particular department? And in general, what are the challenges that that department is dealing with? Some of those are the same factors that you asked about to understand whether there was a compelling reason to buy. But you'll also want to be asking those questions just to capture the demographics so that, again, you understand what characterizes a company and specifically a department that really is in your sweet spot, that is ready to buy earlier than other customers. And then further down into the actual interviewee level. Again, more demographics that are important to understand. What's the title of the person you're talking to? What's their role in the corporation? Because title doesn't really always tell you exactly what they really do. What's their decision-making role in the company? What level of authority do they have for decision-making? How long have they been with the company? What's their approximate age? What's their gender? And what other things should you be asking about that you think might be important for the kind of solution that you'll be talking about? If it's a consumer customer that you're targeting, again, some obvious things to think about certainly would be age, education, maybe the family situation. Are they married? Do they have kids? What's their career situation? What kind of life challenges are they facing and concerned about at this point? What's their rough income level? What's their residence situation? Do they live in an apartment? Do they own a home? What does that look like? And again, what other factors can you think of that might be important to think about to take into account when you're identifying your best target customers? So those are some of the things that are important to think about as you're putting together your, what I would call, again, the starter list of questions for your customer interview process, so that you can come away from this understanding not just whether or not your hypotheses are correct in your business model canvas, but understanding what exactly characterizes your best customers that should maybe be your focus in your beachhead market. And there are a lot of questions that are good to have in that starter list just to remind you of things that you should cover in the customer interview. So I suggest you get our customer interview starter question list. There's a link to a form where you can put your name on the list to receive that. And as I record this, still finishing up the list, but as soon as it's ready, we'll ship that out, and that will give you a very convenient checklist to make sure you're addressing all of the different categories of questions that are important to ask about. Not just questions around verifying your hypotheses in the canvas, but also questions about beachhead, specifically demographics, as well as compelling reason to buy. That's it for this video. If this was helpful, please click like and share it with other entrepreneurs. Any questions or comments, please leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that and click that notification bell so that you get a notification on future videos, because there's more coming up in this series. And of course, there's a link right here to the full series on testing your business model canvas. That is it for now. Thank you very much for watching.